What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. Today on the podcast, we're taking a step back and looking at racism in the NFL and how it's changed over the years.
The NFL has seen a ton of great diverse players in its history. Some of my favorites include Randy Moss, John Randall, and Deion Sanders. But one position has especially lacked diversity until very recently, quarterback position.
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys knew this, but last year in Super Bowl 57 was the first time that two starting black quarterbacks played against each other.
Wow. Yeah, black quarterbacks have had a long-standing stigma against them, that they were lazy, didn't study, and weren't smart enough to lead an NFL team.
Speaking of the stigma around black quarterbacks' IQ, I found an article called An Amazing Specimen, published in 2008 by Matthew Bigler and Judson L. Jeffries. The article stated, when certain team officials were considering a black quarterback, the red flags usually came down to a couple things. Can't read defenses, can't grasp the terminology.
Yeah, and coming off that point, I have an article here that shows similar beliefs in regard to black head coaches. The article is called "The Differences in Success of NFL Coaches by Race from 1990 to 2002." It's published in 2004 by Sage Publications, written by Janice Madden. It says, quote, "African Americans are being held to a higher standard when NFL coaches are hired and when they are fired."
Yeah, I can definitely see the correlation there. I think head coaches and quarterbacks probably face similar stigmas. The quarterback position is intended to be an extension of the coaching staff on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first black quarterback to really break that stigma, at least in the Super Bowl era, which started in 1967, I believe, was Doug Williams, the legendary Redskins quarterback.
Wasn't he drafted to the Buccaneers?
Yeah, so he was drafted at Tampa Bay. He got picked in the first round, I believe, 17th overall. But despite all that, he was the 46th highest paid quarterback in the league. The backup on his own team made more money than he did.
He definitely faced struggles with racism throughout his career. Williams led the Bucs to the playoffs 3 of the 4 years he was there and took them to their first NFC championship. Got paid next to nothing compared to the other QBs in the league.
Yeah, the start of his career, he was looking like a top quarterback in the league and probably the best quarterback in franchise history up to that point for the Buccaneers. And when his rookie deal expired, the Buccaneers front office refused to pay him what he was worth.
Yeah, Williams received a lot of backlash and hate mail from the Buccaneers fan base for not wanting to re-sign with them. In that same article I mentioned earlier, it said, one of the parcels of mail that Williams received was especially nasty. It contained a watermelon and a note that read, "Throw this," the N-word, which I couldn't imagine anything like that happening in the league today.
Wow. Yeah. Even after doing all that he did for that franchise, to not be supported by his own fans and organization, it must have felt terrible.
Yeah. After not being re-signed, Williams had a short stint in the USFL with the Arizona Outlaws, who would agree to pay him. Then after the USFL folded and ran out of money, Williams no longer had a job. A couple of weeks later, he got a call from his old coach, Joe Gibbs, the Washington Redskins, who offered him a job at the backup quarterback position.
Yeah, and he never looked back after he got that job. During the 1987 to 88 season, Doug Williams went on to become the starter in the last game of the regular season after the initial starter, Jay Schroeder, had an abysmal first half against the Vikings. And Doug Williams took him on that playoff run and went on to become the first black quarterback to ever start and win a Super Bowl.
Doug Williams had to overcome the hate and prove fans, coaches, and owners wrong. His Super Bowl season paved the way for future black quarterbacks in the league.
This quote from Doug Williams in Rick Stroud's 2019 Tampa Bay Times article, 25 years later, Doug Williams Understands Impact, discusses the significance of Williams' Super Bowl win and the impact it had on future generations. Williams says, quote, "That day, after I walked off that field, tomorrow didn't even matter to me. Yes, that was history. But whether I played another down, it didn't matter to me because I had that same feeling Martin Luther King talked about. I had been to the mountaintop, plain and simple. I was at the mountaintop, so nothing else mattered to me. I understood the significance of it. I understood the significance of it before. I just didn't buy into it."
Wow, what a fairy tale ending to his career. The impact he had on future generations of quarterbacks was just massive. To think without Williams, we might have never seen players like Randall Cunningham, Mike Vick, or Warren Moon. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the impact Doug Williams had was seen, especially this season. To start the 2023 season, a record-setting 14 black quarterbacks started in week one, as well as the Ravens being the first team in NFL history to have an all-black quarterback roster with two former Heisman winners, Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin III. I think that goes to show you how much the opinions on black quarterbacks have changed over the years.
Yeah, the unanimous best quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes, is a black quarterback, and he's showing how different the league is today. We hope that this podcast helped put into perspective just how important of a role Doug Williams played in destroying assumptions about African-American players and how much the NFL has changed.
Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you all next week on the Football History Podcast.